Hi, my name is Eva Wiebrecht, and I'm the training director of the International Virginia Satir Institute of Germany. I'm also one of the representatives of the leader team and trainer team of the IAGC, the work of generative change developed by Robert Dills and Stephen Gilligan. And today I wanted to share a few thoughts, especially some really meaningful sentences for me that I've been really meditating on the last days, weeks now. And so this is the beginning also of a series that's guided by sentences that I like to quote usually in my workshops when I facilitate the generative satir model approach. And usually every day begins for me with sharing a story that is kind of seeding the day and thought-provoking. And then I usually have central quotes from Virginia Satir that I like to share with the group. And the one that I picked out for today is called, wow, and that's ringing a bell here, I guess. And that's called "The Problem Is Not the Problem, but Coping Is." It's one of those sentences from Virginia Satir that I heard the first time, and I had to kind of like look and think and have it sink in. And one of those that is unpacking itself over time more and more and more. And I find this sentence so timely. When we think about the problem in this particular case, the challenge of an invisible force that's having a global impact and changing our whole normal to the new normal in just such a high speed, and has clear, direct, and massive impact on all of us. What the normal used to be, completely shifting to a new normal. And so if we hook up to this virus is the problem, then I'm basically at the mercy of something happening that is out of my control. And that is creating feelings of helplessness, and it's probably usually a lot of anxiety-driven, fear-driven, and it brings up a lot of chaos. If I think about it, that the problem, whatever that may be, is not the center point of the problem, but the way I respond to it, the way I engage with it, the way I relate to it. So the coping is the problem. Then it gives me actually something to work with, where I can really look into myself, like, how am I responding to what's happening right now? Do I become reactive? And I maybe noticing myself getting really angry, so I start to argue with people a lot. Do I maybe feel a sense like, oh my God, I should be doing a lot of things now, I should be helpful, but I'm not, so I maybe take it on me and I feel I'm not doing enough. Then I kind of placate in the situation. Maybe I gather as much facts as possible. So I'm trying to rationalize it and not be on a feeling level, be impacted by it. Maybe I use all the beautiful offerings that are happening right now in these new medias that are really helping to distract. I mean, I could probably do 24/7 now, signing up for free trainings and signing up for activities and keep myself really, really busy. There are all these Zoom calls, and some of them have a purpose, and some of them is just to fill up the calendar. So I heard some friends actually saying, I've been more busy than ever, and it's not all work related or necessary. And that can be a distraction technique. And that actually is coming from a place of the need for survival. I need to feel safe. I need to protect myself. And so this is my way, how I learned to react and then feel safe. This is all something that I've learned usually in my past. I've learned by that being modeled from other people. And it's a valuable skill to have because it helps us to survive. Basically speaking, we're the living evidence of this coping mechanisms having been helpful. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So that's great to celebrate. But in really stressful times, when it's important to really grow beyond our usual capacities, when we have to really kind of reinvent ourselves, which I think this particular time is really asking us. The way we knew the world until today is not functioning. It has so many side effects. We're basically noticing that the health system, the way it's been managed, is out of control. And there are many people that I know in the health, like doctors, nurses, paramedics, that are, and the ones I know have really created this profession as a mission of wanting to save lives, of really wanting to be helpful, of really wanting to give their best in order to promote health. In all the conversations I have with them today, is they feel pressured by working in a sick-making system that is controlled by numbers, that is controlled by profit, usually run by people who have not necessarily a medical background, but an MBA background. So it's all about economics. It's all about profit centers, and it's all about minimizing costs. And it's not necessarily for the greater good of supporting to promote health. One of the areas I'm working with is also the facility management and cleaning industry. We highly are offering service in this whole health area. So cleaning hospitals, cleaning senior homes. And guess what happens there? They have to be run in a really economical way. And so all the hygienic cleaning services we could professionally provide for people to be safe and protect their health, those expenses get cut down. We even have faced a situation where the daily cleaning that was standard some years ago has been cut to certain rhythms. So from 5 times a week, it's been cut down to maybe twice a week or once a week. That is buying in a lot of risk factors that we totally know about, but it's guided by the principle it has to be profitable. And that is not a health promoting system. This is a sick making system that is run by the wrong reasons. And so it really gives a challenge for us when you have this mission. I really want to save, I really want to support, I really want to give my very best with my everything that I know about helping and healing and health promoting. People are in the health area challenged that they cannot bring their best knowing on the floor, because the regulations, the rules that they're guided by are not aligned with health. They're aligned with numbers. And that is a sick, wrong-making system. So we have to cope with our own integrity and with our own values and with our own way of why we're doing the work that we do in a system that is not supporting that. And it asks us that we stay really centered and connected and really well supported and resourced and calm into our own being, so that we can really respond in a helpful way in very, very challenging environments. And so, more than ever, this idea of the problem is not the problem, but coping is, as a guiding principle, to give, I guess, power, the capacity I can do something in my own realm of doing in a context where I'm actually confronted with the fact that there are a lot of things I don't know. I don't know the numbers, if they're correct. We don't know about the statistics and the reality of the statistics. We don't know about all the tests and what the reality of the results are. So there's a lot of not knowing. And in the not knowing, I need to really activate the best of who I am in times of uncertainty. And that needs a lot of support, a lot of practice, and a lot of understanding that if I don't consciously pick a certain way of responding to very stressful environmental issues, then my coping, my stress response will just automatically get activated. So it gives us a big, big, big task of changing from automatics to response. Two of my teachers, Robert Dills and Stephen Gilligan, have created an acronym to describe with different ingredients what it means to be more in this responsive and high quality performance state. And that is guided by the acronym of the CROACH. That means I'm centered in my body. I'm aligned and centered in my body. I'm like open in my mind, but also my heart and my belly center. I'm opening to like notice, like really present to what is. I am aware, so I can really use my senses in a proper way. So I see what I see, I hear what I hear, I sense what I sense in this particular moment, rather than guided by worries about the future or what happens in the past. I am connected to me, but also to resources I can draw from. I'm connected to, I guess, valuable information that helps me to get a clearer sense about myself and the situation. And then I'm also holding a capacity in me where I can be almost like a container that can hold all the many feelings, experiences, thoughts that run through my mind and all the rest of it. So that would be kind of like a high quality performance state, almost like an athlete when they prepare for their performance. So they, and what they do is they've practiced their art a long time, so they know the skills. It's in their body, and that takes practice. And one way to do is to do practice of meditation, or maybe a practice of qigong, or maybe a practice of yoga, or maybe a practice of Pilates, or maybe a certain reading, or maybe have a prayer or have some chanting, like anything that helps us to find a quiet moment that allows to return to the body and trust in the body and connect to kind of like a deeper source. One way I love to do this, for example, is I like to meditate in a sense where I feel a connection to the earth. And I do imagine that through my feet, there are roots growing into the ground. And I imagine that I connect to the energy of the earth. That allows me to feel grounded and located and connected. and just helps me to settle down. And there's also, for me, a connection I feel to the heavens, where I sense I'm like opening to something above me, like I see the sky and I see how I've aligned with visions and inspiration. I'm imagining how, sometimes you have those daydreams when there's an interesting thought coming. So that idea of I'm just kind of wandering in a really positive way and look up into the sky, and really helpful ideas come to me. So I'm opening to the heavens for creativity and intuition. And then I sense those two, the earth and the heavens, are coming in connection. And I imagine they kind of dance together, almost like they're weaving and dancing and moving, and they're creating a third energy that then allows me to feel a sense of connection inside of myself. And I sometimes like to add a little presencing mantra with a very simple honoring of the three ingredients that help me to present, which is me, here, and now. And as you can see, I'm like to add a movement with it, and I do something like me to connect to myself. And there's here, which is sensing the space, and now this one moment. And so then with those two energies dancing and moving and creating that third energy, I'm also noticing I can also connect outward and relate and feel a sense of bonding and relationship to others. You can maybe imagine friends and colleagues, and maybe a favorite tree I like to go and visit, or a favorite place in the garden. Maybe an animal that you love, still alive or not, but in your mind. So something I can relate to and connect to other than me. And those are things that do help me to get into an upgraded, more high quality state. So in order to be more responsive in times when things are getting really heated up and stressful, I continue to practice some little daily practice, maybe even multiple times, to connect to that deeper high performance quality state. And then I also investigate, I'm curious about the other acronym, which is called CROACH, that actually describes the ingredients of what happens when I'm not in a high quality state, when I feel triggered, when I feel stressed, when I'm not in my best capacities because there's too much happening and I'm feeling off balance. I'm feeling maybe overwhelmed, or I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling uncertain, or I'm feeling kind of in chaos or irritated. And all of that could be summarized in the acronym of CROACH. And that is, I feel like a physical contraction. I feel I'm like making myself smaller. I contract. I feel reactive. Maybe I either way blame other people, or I placate myself. I take responsibility over responsibility. I feel guilty and shame. I may rationalize, but kind of feel frozen and stuck, and or I distract, and I'm just feeling all over the place. Those are ways to just to react. And then in the CROACH, the A stands for overanalysis. I'm jumping maybe from thought to thought, and they're not really coherent. They're not really connecting to a story that makes sense. I may be going like, oh my God, what if this never ends? And what if now my clients are saying that they're going to come back, and want to just postpone certain workshops, but what if that's forever? Where am I getting income from? What's happening to my parents? I don't know. They're a high-risk group. So I'm jumping from thought to thought that is not aligned with a coherent story. And it's making me more nervous rather than helping me to think it out all the way through. And then that usually kind of leads to, I feel alone, I feel separate, I feel not in connection with others. I feel a sense of isolation, and that massively gets triggered right now in those days where we are asked to physically isolate. So maybe also at this point we could think about reframing, renaming the physical isolation to we're physically, locally taking a proper distance for health reasons and challenging ourselves to what it means to stay emotionally connected and in relationship, in dialogue, in connection with others. But if I'm not in a good place, I do feel that sense of separation. I'm alone. I'm the only one experiencing that. Nobody can help me. And that is giving us usually a feeling of hurt, a feeling of helplessness where we really don't know how to deal with the situation. And it usually is taking us away from reaching out to others and connecting and talking honestly and working things through. And so those are the two areas. What we want to promote is more of a coach experience, which is centered, open, aware, connected, and then a sense of holding, and to kind of practice that, to have it available more and more, even in times of stress, so that I can keep a cool mind, an open heart, a centered belly, grounded feet, and really awake, alert hands for proper action, for right actions. And then the second piece is when maybe I'm looking at the news a lot and it's a lot to take in, and I'm noticing without my will, without my control, I do start to get into the crash. I do start to get reactive. I do start to contract, and I notice I do start to be reactive. And it's like mostly a body feeling, a body sensation. Then I want to propose in those moments to combine the two. And that would be, in my understanding, the CROACH, meaning maybe you find yourself noticing that you contract and then you react. And if you catch yourself, now the crucial gateway is, do I just let it happen on its own, or do I feel judgmental about it, knowing, oh, that's not helpful, I should be really cool in this moment because I want to be helpful? Or do I let go of the judgments and I'm noticing I contract, I'm noticing I react, and then I'm opening just to notice. I just open to know and notice what I notice. I notice I'm worried. I'm noticing I'm anxious. I'm noticing I'm feeling confused. I'm noticing I feel helpless. So in this moment, do nothing but pause, notice what's happening. And then I propose to just accept what's happening in your body, accept the tension, accept the feeling, accept everything that moves through. And maybe you can have a sense of a mother holding a baby when it's crying, so that you're just saying, yeah, I accept this is happening. I do accept. I'm open to accept and notice. And that will then maybe give you an opening and a gateway for now say, what are 3 things out in the room that you can really see, that you can really observe? Like, for example, I'm sitting here, and there's a picture on the wall, and that's an oil painting with a little girl that has this body posture. I'm looking over here, and there's like a little meditation sound play. I'm looking here, and there's a Japanese drawing that actually is a calligraphy, and that says connection. I don't speak Japanese, but somebody translated that to me. So I can open my awareness to 3 points out in the open that I can actually observe and see to come and return back to the present. And then I could choose to go in connections. Maybe you can return to a practice that is allowing some self-connection. Maybe you can return and have a sense, wow, you know, when I call up my friend Jörg, he's a Qigong master and he's a great therapist and he's a great friend. And I just know the way he talks is just so calming and soothing. So I could maybe reach out and call my friend and say, hey, can we have a conversation? I just need a loving, soothing, kind, warm voice because I feel a little bit lacking support. So I could reach out to specific things and connect to resources that I may need because I'm noticing I'm not in a good place. And then the last piece will actually be the one that's maybe just naturally, it's like an emergent property that comes to you that will allow that holding container, whatever is there, you can just give that a space of being with. The sentence that usually comes to me is, one of my teachers, Russell Delman, has a beautiful saying of sit comfortable in the discomfort or stay comfortable in the discomfort. And I like to translate it sometimes in find comfort in your discomfort. And what happens a lot of times when I sit and stay with what happens, as I have some capacity to go there, somehow that opens a new door for a new experience, maybe a new insight about the values that are really important to me, or an insight about what's the best positive action that I could do that is in my power, that I can really use myself. And so I think it brings out a really good, clear mind and idea about what to do next. So with that sense, I begin with the beautiful quote of Virginia Satir, the problem is not the problem, but coping is. I just want to bring those techniques of giving a structure that helps us to detect, are we in a coping that's more reactive or one that's more responsive? And even the linkage between the two so that we can strengthen that as a muscle of awareness. So the more we become conscious of those things that get automatically activated, then the more I can grasp it, take charge of it, own it, and re-navigate it. And it's a good way to find our own leadership and our own responsibility in very, very challenging environmental times where there's a lot of triggers through the news, through the social media, through people you talk to that are affected or not, that are worried about certain things, and to find our own really centered and clear and good place. And I'm just looking out there, and there's a big sign in my office, and that says, let your dreams be bigger than your fears and your actions speak louder than your words. So I hope that we can through practices, expand ourselves and dream bigger dreams for the future again. And then also really put into action that we do things that are kind, loving, supportive for ourselves and for others, so that those words that we put in action are louder. In that sense, just want to say goodbye for now. I send you a virtual hug. This is the hug series, virtual hug series. And I hope this has been helpful, and I will come back another time. Until then, hab dich lieb.